The soap operas have been around for decades. My mother's mother watched them. My mother watched them. I watched them growing up. Well, the soap operas are coming to an end on ABC. The producer of this show, Tessa McKenzie, is a passionate fan of All My Children. And when she found out that her beloved soap was coming to an end, she went on a mission, on a quest to get ABC to put the soaps back on. And in her quest, she discovered that ABC's parent company is Walt Disney. So, of course, she had to do her research, and she came across a book. The book is Disney World War by James P. Stewart. And in the book, it talks about how Disney has somewhat of a history of getting its way, regardless of what the general public wants. And in his book, he talks about when Michael Eisner first came to the head of Walt Disney, wanted a Disney America amusement park in Virginia. And this was near the Civil War site. I think it was in Northern Virginia. And the people came together in Virginia and told Disney, I don't want it here. We don't want it here. So the story of the soaps is also the story of the ending of the soaps is a story about how a large company like Walt Disney, the parent company to ABC, is doing away with a beloved art form, the soap operas. Now, my guest here today has another Walt Disney story, but this Walt Disney story took place in the 60s, and it took place in Florida. And here to tell the story, he was right there, is James Pop Gaskins. I'd like to welcome James Pop Gaskins.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes. Well, the thing with Walt Disney, when he was living, they wanted to put Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And at the time, in '68, a lot of us had houses that was being built in Richmond Heights Estate. And Richmond Heights Estate is like my house was being built from the ground, and we had other people whose house was halfway built. We had other people whose houses was not even started being built, but they had the land. Mm-hmm. And in the process of building our house up in Richmond Heights Estate, Disney World came in. They wanted to take the land and put up Disney World. So at the time, I was letting everybody know, don't let that happen. But a lot of people, they wasn't listening at the time. They felt that, they had their own mission of, doing what they could do. And then the 60s was like a time period when a lot of people were working. They didn't have time to get involved with a lot of things that these major companies were doing, like Walt Disney or Paramount, whoever was doing these sort of things. But make a story short, they continued to keep on trying to do things. So then they started Richmond Heights Estate. So I had a house in Richmond Heights that was already built.
Okay.
And then when Richmond Heights Estate got started, I had another house in Richmond Heights Estate, which was 3052 Mary Church Court. That's when we really started the war with Walt Disney, not coming there, using eminent domain, whatever tax that they could use to take our property, our land, to put up Disney World. So I was telling the neighbors and everybody else to sign a petition. Don't let nobody come in here.
So let me just stop you right there. So did Walt Disney come and offer you monies or monetary compensation for your home? Did they come directly to you, or how did that work?
No, they didn't come to any of us that I know of. They used like tactics like they're gonna take the land using eminent domain, like they had control or what have you. So from my understanding back there in '68 and '69 is that they didn't come to any of us. Whoever that had this estate and this Richmond Heights estate, whoever was in charge of the land, I assume they probably went to some of them or whatever. But even the people who had the land, who sold it to us, who was having our houses built, still was on our side. So, but what I did, I told the neighbors and everything, let's not let this happen, because if you bought a house and your house is being built and you don't pay for your land and what have you, you're losing out for somebody to take it. So we went around getting everybody to sign petitions. So when everybody signed petition, we gave it to the people who owned the land, who we got our land from and our houses from, and they put it to where it was supposed to went. And I told them, I said, let them put that stuff out in the swamps.
Oh, so
I told all the neighbors, I was like, y'all got to be crazy. You're having your houses built. Some of your houses have not been built. And a lot of your wives are being pregnant. They want to have their babies in a new home. So let them put that stuff in the swamp.
So back then, did the newspaper cover Disney?
Not that I knows of.
Wanting to take the land, or what? How did you discover it? Was it through the grapevine? Were the local politicians involved at the time? How did the community discover that?
Well, actually, the community didn't really discover it. I discovered it because, matter of fact, I was working for the company that was building the houses. And by being around the office, I was hearing rumors around the office that Disney World was coming. And, in summer, whoever Disney World people had, I don't know, was they agents or whether it was they spokesman or whoever it was, but I could hear things around the office. Maybe I shouldn't have heard that they was coming in to take the people's land, to put up Disney World. So I went around, started letting everybody know, did they hear it or did they see anything about it or whatever, but no one knew until they started trying to take the land and the properties to put up Disney World. And so like I said, so we left from Richmond Heights to Richmond Heights Estate, which I had my second house, and that's when I started letting everybody know that Richmond Heights Estate is to sign petitions and don't let nobody take your houses. Because at the time in 68 and 69, a lot of people having children at the time, and then and this was a beautiful place in Richmond Heights. It was a beautiful place in Richmond Heights Estate that was like the Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? That people was together, beautiful, nice homes and land. Matter of fact, I had like a 3-bedroom with 2 baths. And
so what you had in your advantage was a time frame, because you found out early enough where you could get the petition going, whereas the lovers of soap operas, it was kind of sprung on them. They didn't see it coming, I guess, but they could still do a petition to Walt Disney. Look, we love our soaps. Bring back our... and in fact, it has been done. I think it's being done now. So you get the petition going. You get everyone to sign, the community to sign it.
Right.
So who did you go directly to Walt Disney with it? How did it happen?
The people who own the land that was putting our houses up, we submitted to them. And wherever they took it, however they took it, we don't know, but we do know they put Walt Disney in the swamp.
In the swamps, just like what you said, put it in the swamps.
Right,
So.
and they didn't take our houses, to put Walt Disney there, So, but then I had left Florida in '69, and I went to Georgia, and then I found out like '71, '72, they was putting up Disney World. So when I found out they were putting up Disney World in '71 and '72, I started doing research on calling people that was down there who had homes and things, who I knew at the time. Did they moved out, or was it homes taken? And there was one gentleman who was in a wheelchair. I forgot his name now. I think his name was Junior. Anyway, make a story short, he said, no, they put it out there in the swamps. And I felt really good because he gave me an update that they put it in the swamps.
Okay. Yeah. So they didn't take your land away, and you were able to stay, the community was able to stay in their homes.
Yes.
And Walt Disney did not have its way.
Right.
Okay, so that's a story where, Florida, they didn't get their way, and Virginia, they didn't get their way, but they have taken the soaps away, which is not real estate, but it is a beloved art form, television format that many generations and many generations and decades of people have watched the soaps.
Right.
So how do you stop how do you go to Walt Disney and petition to have your soaps back on? Or what would you suggest to anyone or any community that has something like that going on, like with eminent domain, or a big corporation is going to make some decision that affects the community at large? What would you say to them?
Well, actually, be truthful, there's an end to everything. And number one is, if you have an event on a major station and people watching it, the main thing is for people to do something. Don't just sit back and just take things as they come. You know, Tess is a good example. I mean, she goes right to the source. She goes in front of the places. She talks to them. She has them on broadcast or what have you. They be going in and out. They got promoters. They got producers. They got investors. They're hearing these sort of things. So that's creating attention, because if you keep on putting the word out there, a mass of people that will see this and hear this, they'll start wondering, even though they don't care at the time, they'll start wondering what's going on, or let's see what's going on and happening. Then they find out. Then they'll come in and they'll join. You know, but you have to keep it out there, and Tess is doing a good job, you know, doing everything she can and she possibly can is to keep it going, and eventually it will come to an end.
Okay. Now, is there a way for someone listening to this to get in contact with Hip Hop if they need any assistance?
Yeah, anyone that having a problem with losing their houses or losing their properties, or doing films or what have you, and they're losing, you can give me a call at 347-844-2747, or you can email me at popgaskins1@gmail.com. That's popgaskins1@gmail.com. We also help people with foreclosures of the houses, predatory lending, whatever case they may have, we solve them.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, James Pop Gaskins, for sharing your Walt Disney story right here. And I appreciate your input.
I appreciate being here.
The power of Walt Disney and the power of the community.
Yeah, and it's a shame that a company like that was going to fall. You know, it's a shame, you know, for a major company like that who have done some good things in the past. Now they're doing bad things. That's not kosher.
No, it's not. And to take our beloved soaps off, not a good thing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
About how Disney has somewhat of a history of getting its way regardless of what the general public wants. And in his book, he talks about when Michael Eisner first came to the head of Walt Disney, wanted a Disney America amusement park in Virginia. And this was near the Civil War. The soap operas have been around for decades. My mother's mother watched them. My mother watched them. I watched them growing up. Well, the soap operas are coming to an end on ABC. The producer of this show, Tessa McKenzie, is a passionate fan of All My Children. And when she found out that her beloved soap was coming to an end, she went on a mission, on a quest to get ABC to put the soaps back on. And in her quest, she discovered that ABC's parent company is Walt Disney. So, of course, she had to do her research, and she came across a book. The book is Disney World War by James P. Stewart. And in the book, it talks about is doing away with a beloved art form, the soap operas. Now, my guest here today has another Walt Disney story, but this Walt Disney story took place in the 60s, and it took place in Florida. And here to tell the story, he was right there, is James Pop Gaskins. I'd like to welcome James Pop Gaskins. Site. I think it was in Northern Virginia. And the people came together in Virginia and told Disney, I don't want it here. We don't want it here. So the story of the soaps is also the story of the ending of the soaps is a story about how a large company like Walt Disney, the parent company to ABC,